Chicago Fire will lose important members of Firehouse 51 after the confirmed exits of Jake Lockett's Sam Carver and Michael Bradway's Jack Damon. However, Daniel Keary's Darren Ritter will have a limited return for Season 14 after it was reported that Ritter's time at Firehouse 51 was over after the Chicago Fire Season 13 finale. Ritter's return is good, but it's frustrating that it's brief because the Chicago Fire alumnus should be allowed to stay for the entire season. Although Ritter has also been a bit underdeveloped, he has been a commendable character on the One Chicago series because of his chemistry and friendship with Carver, Violet Mikami, and his other firemen. Daniel Keary is returning to Chicago Fire Season 14 for a limited time. Ritter's time at Firehouse 51 ending is a major letdown, considering his small role during the Season 13 finale. Ritter is one of the most caring and respected firefighters at Firehouse 51, who has developed lasting friendships with Carver and Violet, Blake Gallo, and, recently, Lizzie Novak. Ritter has also had some intriguing storylines, including coming out as gay to Herman and his relationships with travel agent Eric Woodruff and CPD officer Dwayne Morris. Ritter's bond with Gallo and Violet was also memorable because they constantly communicated with each other, including their interest in starting a microbrewery business. While Ritter's moments are special, they lack the screen time necessary to be fully fleshed out, making his character appear more like a sidekick rather than a primary role. Ritter has an opportunity to conclude his story on a high note during his limited run in Season 14, but it'll have to be a major storyline that hits home. Why bringing back Keary just to write out Ritter in Chicago Fire Season 14 is bad. Keary's role as Ritter was reportedly cut out of Chicago Fire due to budget cuts in relation to this and several Dick Wolf shows produced by Wolf Entertainment. Although Ritter can have a significant part in Season 14, it's upsetting to have him only return for a certain number of episodes when his character deserves more time. Since Ritter's personal relationships were short-lived, the show could perhaps find a way to give him a deeper love story that could serve as a happy ending for the character. Or Ritter could have a larger role involving a massive fire rescue or arson case that will jeopardize his career. These high-stakes scenarios have been lacking in Ritter's characterization. Although Ritter's time on Chicago Fire is coming to an end, a potential return in the future isn't out of the question since other One Chicago characters like Antonio Dawson have returned full-time. Ritter's Firehouse 51 exit is frustrating, considering he has more to offer on the show, and his friendships at 51 were funny and heartwarming. Enjoy Screen Rant's primetime coverage? Click below to sign up for our weekly Network TV newsletter. Make sure to check Network TV in your preferences, and get the inside scoop from actors and showrunners on your favorite series. When Chicago Fire Season 14 announced the shocking news that a familiar face was returning to Firehouse 51, fans erupted with excitement, nostalgia, and a tidal wave of speculation. But within minutes of the premiere airing, that excitement began to morph into something far more complicated. Because the way the writers chose to bring this character back didn't just fail to fix the sting of their departure, it actually amplified it, making their Season 13 exit feel even more hollow, rushed, and narratively frustrating. The character in question had left under circumstances that were already controversial among the show's fiercely loyal audience. An exit that felt like it had been conceived in a writer's room corner, hurriedly scribbled into a mid-season script, and then awkwardly stapled onto the broader narrative without the emotional build-up that this character truly deserved. Fans remember the farewell episode vividly. It wasn't a grand send-off. There were no sweeping callbacks to their years of service or layered goodbyes from every member of the 51 family, and instead, they were quietly shuffled out of the storyline under the guise of a new job opportunity, personal crisis, or vague, off-screen obligations that the script seemed almost reluctant to fully explain. The audience grieved not just the character's absence, but the lack of care in the way they were written out. And now, in Season 14, instead of crafting a triumphant homecoming or a story arc that adds depth to their previous departure, the writers have brought them back in a way that retroactively makes that original exit seem meaningless, almost as if the emotional stakes from last season were a trick played on the viewers. The return isn't framed as a desperate, high-stakes rescue mission that only this particular firefighter could pull off, nor as a slow-burn reintroduction that allows relationships to heal and evolve. Instead, the character simply strolls back into the firehouse during a routine shift, wearing the same uniform, with a casual "missed you guys" shrug, as though their absence had been no more than an extended coffee break. For those who spent months replaying the tearful goodbye scenes, debating theories on Reddit threads, and defending the characters' honor in heated Twitter exchanges, this was a gut punch of the worst kind. Not because the show dared to subvert expectations, but because it failed to acknowledge the weight of its own past storytelling. This choice leaves a bitter aftertaste, as it forces fans to recontextualize every heartfelt moment from that season 13 departure. That stirring speech from Bowden about always having a place here now feels cheapened. The lingering shots of fellow firefighters struggling to hold back tears now feel overacted. The entire emotional crescendo of the exit episode collapses under the weight of its own irrelevance. And it's not just the handling of the return that stinks. It's the implications for the characters. Their time away could have been an opportunity for off-screen development. Maybe they found new leadership skills in a different firehouse, faced harrowing challenges that changed their perspective, or built new personal relationships that could now be tested in the 51 Crucible. But the version of the character that walks back into the firehouse is essentially a carbon copy of the one who left. No new scars, no fresh insights, no hard-won wisdom. The dialogue doesn't even hint at transformative experiences during their absence. Instead, they slide back into the same banter, the same role, and the same dynamics, as though time stood still. This flattening of their arc makes it impossible to reconcile why they had to leave in the first place. Because if they were just going to return unchanged, why put fans through the pain of losing them? Even worse, the abrupt re-entry seems to undermine the arcs of other characters who stepped up in their absence. That rookie firefighter who had been mentored into a leadership role, suddenly sidelined. The deeper camaraderie built between two other members of Truck 81 in the void they left, now awkwardly brushed aside to make room for the returning veteran. It's the kind of decision that creates narrative whiplash, leaving viewers wondering if the writers are more interested in chasing short-term ratings bumps than in maintaining consistent, character-driven storytelling. And yet, the most frustrating part is that all the ingredients for a satisfying return were sitting right there within the show's DNA. Imagine if the characters' comeback had been tied to a major crisis that required their specific skill set, forcing them to reckon with the reasons they left in the first place. Imagine if their reappearance had been layered with tension, old wounds, unresolved arguments, and wary stares from colleagues who had struggled to adjust in their absence. That would have honored both the original exit and the emotional intelligence of the audience. Instead, Season 14 gives us a reunion scene so breezy, it might as well have been shot for a holiday special, complete with warm smiles, easy hugs, and zero acknowledgement of the hurt that defined their departure. For longtime fans, it's a reminder of how Chicago Fire, despite its track record of delivering gut-wrenching, character-focused drama, can sometimes fall into the trap of treating its own history like a casual suggestion rather than a carefully constructed foundation. And because the return is handled without the depth or gravity it deserves, it ends up shining a harsh light on the very flaws of the exit storyline that many had tried to forgive. What once felt like a frustrating but possibly necessary goodbye now reads as a pointless detour in the character's journey. A narrative dead end that wasted time, emotional investment, and the potential for richer storytelling. In that way, this surprise return doesn't feel like a gift to the audience. It feels like a retroactive gutting of everything we felt last season, a rewriting of emotional history that we didn't ask for and certainly didn't need. Yes, it's nice to see their face again. Yes, the nostalgia still tugs at the heartstrings. But under the surface of that initial joy lies the deeper truth. Sometimes, the worst thing you can do for a beloved character isn't to kill them off. It's to bring them back without earning it. And in Chicago Fire Season 14, that's exactly what happened, leaving fans to wrestle with the uncomfortable realization that their return didn't just fail to heal the wound of their exit. It tore it wide open. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe my sister wives to our channel and stay with TS.